We made it. We're live. Welcome to the show, Washing Real Estate. I'm Darlene, DJ, Silver Fox Talks Productions. We're going to go ahead and bring out the guests, our hosts. Then we're going to bring out the guests. This is going to be really exciting. Let's go and get Darren Sprinkle in here.
Hey, thanks, DJ.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Fun. Hey, congrats on your new LinkedIn Live. That's so awesome.
Thank you.
We did learn something today. I want to share that with everybody, that if you don't log in or what is it? Tell us, DJ.
Create the broadcast, just the destinations, and set it an hour before. It doesn't let you.
Okay, so that's a learning in progress thing, and that's really helpful because we have a couple shows coming up, and so anybody else doing LinkedIn Live, remember 1 or 2 hours ahead or whatever, you have to submit a request. So let's bring James on, DJ.
All right, let's get him out here.
Hey guys.
What's up?
Hey James.
How's it going?
Man, tell us what's going on in the real estate investor world, highs and lows, real quick.
Oh man, it's great. It's pushing 80 degrees out here in Seattle, and but there's just two extremes. People have nothing to do or too much to do, and that's kind of the pulse of the week.
Crazy.
From my seat. Yeah.
Yeah, you had like 40 something calls, right?
Yeah, 44 yesterday. Yeah, just amazing. Yeah. Awesome. And I can still talk today, so that's good.
Well, this conversation will not be draining because Terry is a new person I've met through LinkedIn, but was referred by several people. His mentality, his innovation, and his strategy is what he brings to the table that's different. Although he's not a realtor, he's not a broker, what he does do is he thinks outside the box. James, you're an out-of-the-box thinker. I'm an out-of-the-box thinker. And so we welcome that to the party, and we hope that everybody learns something. And let's bring on Terry.
All right.
Hello.
Hey, Terry.
Hey, Terry.
Wanted everyone to know you. That's the most important thing. You do a lot of things very, very well. You're a former veteran. Thank you for your service.
Yes. Thank you for your service.
He was a corpsman. Hoorah. You know, DJ was an airman. And so, Terry, we have a lot of things we could talk about today. Mental health and business are on the forefront of a lot of people's minds. And a lot of what you do is meet with people and help them strategize or think of ways differently. Tell us about who is Terry.
That's a good question. Who is this guy? He grows up in the mountains, barefooted in the Rocky Mountains of the West Coast in Idaho. No shot at college. Sound familiar to a lot of people out there, I'm sure. And I joined the Navy to see the world, and that's exactly what I did. I stayed for 20 years, and I came in on a ball of fire, and that's the way I left. And I enjoyed it. I saw 3/5 of the world, met and married my first wife, and had the most amazing daughter. And, so what's this Terry Earthwind stuff? So let's go there first. My journey in life started out as a white boy, and I learned that I was an Indian, and the Chickamaugas have named me my Earthwind. We don't have a lot of time to go through that all today, but I'm a big peace activist. Yeah. I spent 20 years in the Navy, but that's what the Navy's for. Peace, not to make war. We keep the peace. And Air Force, they're okay too.
Hey, come on.
My brother was career Air Force, so I've had a lot of years and a lot of fun with that. Let me tell you.
Not too bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, about 8 years ago, I was contacted by the United Refugee Green Council of Cyprus to be a global ambassador on behalf of refugees for the U.S. and globally, because I travel. My company is worldwide. We can talk about that later. And so I said yes, and they sent me the stuff, and I ended up with the title His Excellency Ambassador. Now, here in the United States, big deal. They're not into titles. But when I travel everywhere else in the world, it's a big deal. People don't call me Terry. They call me Mr. Ambassador or Your Excellency or something like that. It is a big deal. It is a real title. And so if you were to Google Terry Nichols, you'd find 20,000 of my favorite relatives, Terry Nichols, in North America alone. So adding my tribal name to my name, Terry Earthwind Nichols, now you only have one in the whole world. So I'm really researchable. And D-Roo was all over that. He grabbed that and took off with it. So that's a real quick history of me. I was 20 years in the Navy, loved it. I now run a global company. We're on 6 continents, 17 countries now, 26 US states, doing business in 6 languages. So what started out in 2012 as a mom and pop operation has expanded into quite an enterprise.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Incredible.
And thank you for sharing. Like, that's your name, the Earthwind name. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got the tribal name Chickamauga is Gado Onule. I just love saying that. It just sounds so cool.
Say that
you
again.
know. And so yeah, I'm an old man now. So now I'm an elder and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I do. I've mentored and coached probably 4,000 people in my adult life. So I have a lot of experience there. And so the elder part of it fits real nice.
So Terry, tell us how, when we met, there was a few things. You have your ambassadorship, you have your business where you consult with people that just come to you with all kinds of business ideas, and they're, and the reason I wanted you to talk a little bit about that is because so many people are scrounging to get out of a situation instead of thinking in inspiration. And you were one of the first people that really questioned a couple even words I said. I think one of them we talked about was like dissolving a problem instead of pivoting, and like all this hard talk we hear. So what would you tell people right now? So you're an ambassador for peace, but also you have a skill set that helps people calm things down and make better decisions. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you alluded to it early on when you said, I think out of the box. First thing is I teach people that work with me, any reference to a box is a limiting belief. And limiting beliefs keep you from being successful. Okay? James said, can grab onto this because you cannot be in a box and be successful in real estate. Not going to happen. Okay? You have to be thinking about what's going on all the time. And if you drive yourself based on limiting beliefs, the sky's the limit, all that kind of stuff, you're not going to do real well. Or if you do, not as well as you could. And usually it means that you talk yourself out of wherever you're going. And so when I work with people, I take what they have and what gifts they have, and what does that do to create a new revenue stream? Does that mean you start a new business? Not necessarily. Does it mean that you have a skill or an experience set right now that can be turned into money, helping other people in this pandemic and lockdown and all the stuff that's going on with that? I have one guy who kept his company open the whole lockdown thing, and he's a manufacturer. He was working with me just before the lockdown, and what we did was, he came to me and he says, we're locking down, I'm going to have to close the factory, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, not necessarily. And he goes, huh? What do you mean? And I go, not necessarily. Allow everybody to stay home for a little while, and let's figure out what this is all about. And then get your people together on Zoom or whatever, get them all on Zoom. He's only got like 20, 25, 30 people. Get them all on Zoom and say, okay, here's how we've been doing business. Now, what changes can we make that can keep the business going, but maybe we're making new widgets. Maybe we're doing something differently. Okay. And in that conversation, he got back to me later and he said, in the conversation, the guy that cleans the warehouse floor and stuff like that, came up with a way to move the equipment around without too much hassle, so that social distancing was a given. Okay. So if you have social distancing and everybody's keeping their masks on and stuff like that, what can we do about selling what we do? And so they all went to work. They all put their masks on and did that kind of stuff, and they moved stuff around. And the result was they were able to open the factory back up. It just doesn't take walk-in traffic, it doesn't take any customers, but most manufacturing places don't. So from that and the idea of the janitor guy, who's, he can't do much and he's not real smart, but he got that figured out, right? The company's open and doing business all the way through lockdown, all the way through last year. Company's doing business. All right. That's thinking with the idea that we're all in this together and we can create and achieve new revenue streams together and keep our company going, keep our family going. And some side notes to this, really excellent. He usually loses somebody about every 4 or 5 months. Somebody either retires or they move on or, whatever. Nobody's left the company since March of last year, as of me talking to him 2 weeks ago. Nobody. And here's what's key. When you're focused on a vision that you share together with all of your people and you're achieving regularly, here's a given in business. People don't get sick, they don't burn out, and they don't leave the company. All right. So for employees, that's fabulous. Now let's look at the other side of this, because there's two sides of a business. Somebody got to pay the bills. Well, here's the biggie on there. You're not replacing people, so that expense is dropped or gone away almost. But more importantly, health-related costs and all those kinds of things are going down. They had OSHA. They had an OSHA inspection specifically to come in and see the new floor. And as a result of that inspection, they qualified for a lower liability rate. So now expenses are going down and they're still driving revenue. Okay. Now, the guy that runs this company has a heart about this big. All right. So the percent of increase over last year's forecasted budget was split between all of his employees.
Wow.
Okay. He didn't put it in his pocket. He didn't put it in the rainy day fund. He put it in their pockets. They need it. Okay. That's no box thinking. All right. That's taking something and completely removing the obstacles that you see and start looking at what the possibilities can happen, and creating a shared vision where everybody in the company owns that vision is powerful.
That's very powerful. I appreciate that, sharing that story, Terry. It's, there's not, it's funny to me how often we just get stuck in the old ways of doing business, and we don't take time to fly up to 30,000 feet and to think about the big picture. And that's it. It sounds exactly what you did with him and he did with his employees. And those resources are right there in front of him. Yeah. And you showed that to him. That was just, and then it was just an amazing journey for him, I'm sure. He has to be fired up about that.
Now it's, everybody loves to go to work today. If the area gets locked down again, they figured out how to bypass that with doing some in-home kind of stuff. Now, certainly the manufacturing, if it's not manufacturing, it's not manufacturing. But when that happens, they've got them doing other things. Now, exactly whatever all that is, I'm not real sure. The power in this is giving up that, oh my God, we got a COVID, we got this pandemic, we're all going to die, we're all going to do this, we're all going to do that. They stopped and they go, these are starting to sell and people are going to need them in this pandemic. We have the base equipment. I don't think it's going to take that much retooling to make that product. and add to what it is. Now, I'm not I don't know their business, but what they did was they changed the way they make these tube things for machinery, and changed it to the tubing that they use for the breathing apparatuses and stuff.
Okay.
So they've got a big market.
Yeah.
Okay. And they could sell all they can make. Well, the key there is they only make so much per day because they didn't want to go out and hire new people who could bring in COVID. So they decided as a group that this is how much we're making a day, and we'll sell that. Okay. And that's what they did. And that's what they're still doing. Now, what else they're doing, I'm not sure. That's genius. And most of that come from the floor guys, not from the leadership.
Right.
Okay. So now what they have is they have a company vision where they're going that has no timelines or sales goals attached to it. It's all about achievement. Each of the 4 divisions in the company also have their division vision that they're working towards. Okay. And when you have a shared vision where everybody is real and appreciated, man, the results are really quite interesting. I'm writing a book on it. It's a new business model called Consortium Model. And it's based on collaboration. It's people-centric with the idea that achievement drives the success, not sales goals that are missed all the time and the stresses with that.
What do you mean by achievement?
Okay, each of you think right now just about something that you have achieved recently and what you felt when you achieved it. Okay, it can be anything, all right, but you felt really good. Now think about the last time you achieved something and somebody above you in your company or organization or whatever who you respect acknowledged that achievement and rewarded you for it. Now you're pumped, man. You want to do this again. So they put in different milestones in the company, in the manufacturing plant, for instance. When they hit X amount of units, they stopped the company and the manufacturing, and they brought in a bunch of pizza and they had a party. They didn't keep going till the end of the workday and then do it. They stopped when they hit their achievement milestone. Okay. Now, what happens with that? The boss, the owner, comes down, boxes of pizza and all of that kind of stuff, and then throws out some checks and envelopes for the achievement. Okay. How fast you're going to hit the next milestone? You're going to be focused. So that's key here. And that is a completely different model than what's traditional right now. Let's take the banking industry, for instance. First thing you want to do is you close all your branches. Well, that makes sense because they're based on people walking in the door. However, permanently close them is not a good idea. You just threw away a whole bunch of talent, resources, and experience by closing that permanently. However, you got to keep the door locked, so lock the door. Keep the people in there and do like Brad and the guys at the machinery place and say, okay, people, how do we stay employed with our bank? Okay. We are a bank branch, yes, and this is what we do day to day. We take, receive, send, and receive money, blah, 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 blah. But that's not a big deal right now as much as people are hurting. They're in trouble of losing their mortgages and all this other stuff. So perhaps, and I've had this conversation, perhaps you retrain the existing people online using Zoom or whatever platform you can to start handling mortgage services. Okay. The branch keeps employed. You keep all of that talent that's been there for a long, long time. They start achieving. They're starting to be pumped and they're doing different things. And you are servicing the community. You're keeping people in their homes. Okay. So there's another way of thinking about no box thoughts. Okay.
One of the things we've done, Terry, with James is two things. Another show will be coming. It's called Competition Spotlight, where we have an interview like this with a competitor because there's no such thing as competition in the lending industry, because right now the industry is flooded with capital, and so it's easy to get money, but it's really easy to get bad money. And people like me, who is a former builder, knows what bad money looks like. It costs money. It comes with aggression. It comes with people you don't want to work with. And so when this whole thing started with, COVID, and how do we get just outside? How do we keep this moving? My first conversation with James is like, man, you love auto detailing. And when you do detail and we're having conversation, it's just, he's in a whole nother level of this innovative mind, and he's in love with what he's doing at the moment. And so we're trying to show other people the same thing. Like, if you can get as close to your passion and where you love to be, you'll find that the other things come together also. Having that core idea of not only where's my company belong, but me as a person, where do I need to be and what do I need to address? Because there's a lot going on, and money problems, and store now going to the store is a big stress, or just all these things are additional. What would you tell people that are at that point in business? Maybe they have new ideas, but now they are dealing with stress, and finding that mental health is now kind of kicking their ass.
Well, I have a division for that.
I know,
Back in 2009, I created a question and answer sequence that finds an amnesic memory in early childhood that drives repetitive behavior as an adult. Okay. Wow. And that's why our company is so wide, because I speak from the stage last year and this year, but I speak from the stage and I talk about this sequence. It's not therapy. It's not, no woo-woo, none of that stuff. Yeah, I'm an Indian, but it has nothing to do with that. It's a question and answer sequence where a person would go to a random memory that is not associated with a memory that's like a PTSD event or something like that, just a memory. But instead of telling me the story about it, you freeze frame it into a photograph. Now, if you have a photograph, there's no motion. And if there's no motion, there's no history. If there's no history, there's no emotion. So a person can stay with me fully present and out of emotion for 2-3 hours without hypnosis or none of that stuff. But here's the key. We use the 5 senses to describe the memory using, what do you smell? What do you hear? Blah, blah, blah. It's this very specific sequence. That creates an alternate neural pathway back to where senses are stored in the back of the brain. Here's key to that. Traditional behavioral science goes from the front, back, and they work with known memories and the issues with them. EMDR, NLP, all these other stuff in modalities, they come in from the side, but they still work with a known issue with a known high emotional memory. Okay. We go in our alternate neural pathway. We get off the interstate and we get onto a US highway and we go back in the back where we can go forward. Now, what happens when we're children? A significant emotional event occurs and we're pre-language. We have no idea how to process this. We have no language skills. So, Mom, I can't tell you what just happened that scared the hell out of me, and I don't know how to process it. Well, there's something that takes over in our brain that's a very healthy thing. It's called amnesia. Amnesia is a protection. Okay, it keeps you from remembering this significantly bad event. Okay. And when it does, it sets up a deflection system, what we call an active block or a driver, to keep you thinking about everything else in your world but that. So as you grow older, it becomes more sophisticated. And we found out very early on that it thinks and deflects using lineal thought. And here's why. Because when you're a little child, you learn the ABCs. That's lineal thought. You learn out the alphabet or arithmetic. 2 + 2 is 4. Lineal thought. So all of these lineal things is how it survives to protect you. Okay. When we switch out of linear thought and go into abstract thought using the 5 senses, we can we move around, and the protection can't follow us as easily. But when we go into the back of this is a very technical term, but I'm going to keep it plain language. When you come in the back door of a memory that's not protected, the person who goes in, finds that memory and walks into it, it's as if it just happened 2 minutes ago. Here's the key. It doesn't have the emotion to it because you're completely out of emotion. Okay. And your memory is so clear. It's like absolutely amazing. I had a client who was out in the woods, okay, and witnessed a car driving over and killing the dog. When she got back to that memory from the back, all right, she could smell the pine cones. All right, so it's powerful and it's consistent. Now, when we do this question and answer sequence, I even use the sequence word for word because it's that exact. And it works every single time. So the reason why I went into all this detail is when this pandemic and things that are going on right now, we're processing a lot more stress than we have ever in our life. I don't care how old you are. All right. So imposter syndrome, compassion fatigue, all of that kind of stuff is going berserk wild right now. And traditional behavioral sciences, God bless them, they're doing what they think is right, can't handle this because they're working with the same thing that they've always done, hoping for new results. Well, to me, that's the definition of insanity. You don't stay on the same road if you know you can't get to the other end. Why do you stay on the same road? However, get off the highway and try a new route, you might end up in the right place. So that's what we do, and that's why it's so successful. And we also know that it takes about 30 days to set a new pattern in the brain. All behavioral sciences believes that and agrees with it. So our process takes 30 days to go through the little steps, week-to-week steps after the CR session, which is about 3 hours. So it's maybe a little bit more to detail that you need, but it does identify what the three of you and certainly everybody that's out here listening to this live right now can go, man, I get that. This crap is, I'm laying awake at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat and I can't turn it off. So I'll get in the shower, or I'll do a half a bottle of wine or whatever to slow it up.
We only have 1 minute left, and I wanted to say like how important that is for a lot of people, because someone like myself who has struggled with or been diagnosed with bipolar or manic depression or addiction issues, when I'm outside of that and I'm looking at therapy, right, it can be like that seems so overwhelming to deal with that. If I'm in a sober environment, I'm clear-headed, and what you're offering is an addition to some of these other things where people are feeling stuck and self-medicating and fighting and really what I wanted to kind of put in a full picture was the mental health is what helps you create these innovative and new ideas and fun things that other people want to be a part of, the team environment. And that's what I think is a global epidemic. And that's what you're trying to fix.
Yeah. And it's something that is done right here over camera on a Zoom, for instance. This is the only place we do it. We don't do it one-to-one.
Well, that's us. That's 30 minutes, James.
It's great.
You got any last thoughts? You want to jump in?
No, just great information. I love the thinking, tracking with that. I look forward to more conversations, Jerry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks all of you guys for bringing me in on this. Google Terry Earthwind Nichols. You find the websites and all that. The visioning thing that I told you about, that's a free giveaway without an opt-in. I don't do the email capture junk. That's stupid. Okay. So evolutionaryhealer.com or Google Terry Earthwind Nichols. You get one.
Excellent.
Thank you, Terry.
Thanks so much, Terry.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, DJ.
Thanks, DJ.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.